Hello and welcome to Jackie Kirby Art and another tips video. This week we're looking at staining and non-staining watercolours. So I've taken a selection out of my watercolour box of some staining and non-staining pigments. They're all Winsor & Newton Artist Quality paints. I've got Winsor Yellow, Winsor Red Deep, Winsor Violet, Cobalt Blue Deep, Viridian and Opera Rose. Now on the tubes or pans and on the manufacturer's website it will tell you what are staining and what are not non-staining colours, but obviously it's not always obvious as to what degree that they are going to stain your paper. So if you're going to use a lot of lifting out techniques in any of your work, it pays you to perhaps do this little exercise first so you get a good understanding of how staining these pigments are. Right, so I'm going to put some pigment on the paper. I'm going to let it dry and then we'll come back and lift the colour out. Just one thing, you'll notice the staining colours, which are the ones here on the left, the paper absorbs that colour quite quickly, quite deep into the paper, whereas the non-staining pigments appear to sit on top of the paper. So if you just observe that while I'm putting it on. Okay. Winsor Yellow. Winsor Red Deep, Winsor Violet, Cobalt Blue Deep, Viridian, and Opera Rose. Now you can see the non-staining pigments, as I said, you can see them sitting more on top of the paper. The staining pigments, the yellow particularly, is going straight into that paper there. So what we'll do is we'll leave those to dry and come back and lift some pigment out. Okay, so our pigments are now dry, so we'll lift out some pigment with our brush and also with our little magic eraser to see how successful we are at trying to lift out particularly the staining colours. So let's do the non-staining first. Cobalt, the brush appears to be lifting quite easily. Let's try the Viridian with the brush. Sometimes you have to, even though they're non-staining, you're never going to get the white of the paper back, but you can lift out a good proportion of it. And the Opera Rose. Also, you can, if you want, use a stiffer brush when you're doing this, but you need to be a little bit careful depending on what type of paper you're using, that you don't break the surface of your paper. Right, so there's the non-staining with the brush. Let's try the staining with the brush. Windsor Yellow. And that's really stained that paper. It's not particularly. So you can see the difference, how difficult it is to get these pigments out, these staining pigments. You'd need to think in part of your planning process, which is always difficult. Beginners never want to do a lot of planning, they just want to jump in and produce the work. But as part of the planning process, with you preparing your transparent colours, your tonal range, you also need to think about the staining and non-staining pigments and how they're going to work with each other and how they're going to react with each other if you mix them. So it does pay you to do quite a bit of planning. Right, so as you can see, the non-staining colours have lifted out reasonably well, whereas the staining ones, you know, you've hardly lifted anything out. But we'll try this little magic eraser now and see how useful that is. Non-staining first. Pretty successful. The Viridian. And the Upper Rose. Oh, would help if I got a wet sponge there. Yeah, you have to do it wet. Obviously doing it dry isn't going to reactivate the paint at all. And with the staining colours, we'll try it with this little sponge. Windsor Red. And on our Windsor Violet. Well, I think you'll agree that there's quite a bit of difference there between those, and it does show that it is worth testing your colours for staining and non-staining pigments before launching into your watercolour painting. If you think this little tips video has been useful to you, I'd love you to subscribe and look out for any future helpful videos that's coming along. I am going to be doing other media, not just watercolours. Trying to promote watercolours more at the moment because I've got a small class that I've started, and they're getting to grips as beginners with watercolours, and they're finding these videos quite useful. So look forward to seeing you again. Thanks for watching.